Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Can see YouTube. The live chat. Yeah, please, you can come forward if you wish to.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, please tell me.
I just want to know what is the process of initiation
Huh.
and what is the prerequisite for the initiation and what happens if we don't take, or is it literally required to be initiated?
Huh. Acha. First question is, what is the process?
Yes.
Yeah. Process of initiation. Initiation means when a prospective candidate who wishes to pursue the path of devotional service to Krishna very seriously, he desires to be formally accepted by a spiritual master. And the spiritual master or the guru also formally accepts him, a particular candidate, as his disciple. So when a spiritual master decides to accept a particular candidate as his disciple, that means he is taking charge of his deliverance back to Krishna. That is the significance. Before we come to the process. So what is the whole idea behind initiation? Why this so much seriousness is placed on this, we should understand. A spiritual master who descends on the order of Krishna, when he accepts a particular candidate, that means he takes charge. From today onwards, it is my responsibility to ensure that this particular person is delivered back to Krishna. So he takes charge of all the karma, of destroying all the previous karma and elevating the consciousness of the candidate and taking him back to Krishna. So in a sampradaya or a particular school of thought, initiation is given a certain process. That means the disciple agrees to follow certain rules and regulations. The spiritual master also lays down certain conditions. If a particular candidate has to be initiated by me as a disciple, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are the things he must agree to follow. If he agrees to follow, then I will also initiate him. So the disciple has there is a responsibility on the disciple. These are the things he has to follow. So even before the formal initiation ceremony happens, for about 6 months or 1 year or a few, some period of time, the disciple is advised to follow, the prospective candidate is advised to follow all the rules and regulations so that he also becomes competent to take initiation. After that, a particular date is fixed, Diksha ceremony it is called. On that particular day, the spiritual master formally accepts him as a disciple. So in ISKCON, Prabhupada, for giving initiation or Diksha, the Sanskrit word, has set forth very simple conditions for taking initiation. Anybody who wishes to be initiated in ISKCON must agree to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 malas every day. We have this mala, one mala we chant. So Prabhupada has set the standard 16 malas of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He should chant this mala every day. Over and above that, he should agree to follow 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit connection with a member of the opposite sex apart from one's own properly married life, and fourthly, no gambling. So these 4 regulative principles and 16 malas of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, if anybody is ready to follow, then he is a prospective candidate for initiation. That's all initiation is. So anything else left out, your question?
I mean, if we are following these 4 regulative principles plus chanting, and we are very much adhesive to these things, we are not breaking up these rules and all. And what if we are not taking initiation? I mean,
Yeah. Initiation, actually, Prabhupada says in many places, actually, it's a commitment from the disciples' side, the prospective candidate's side. Over and above that, the acharyas have recommended that one must take initiation. So that the commitment is, further strengthened, that I have taken initiation from a spiritual master. So I have a responsibility on my side that I must follow. It is not that I may follow, I may not follow. It's not like that. I must follow this. So the seriousness is enhanced. And what is the objective of initiation? By following all these rules and regulations given by the spiritual master, I must elevate my consciousness to the platform of pure devotional service, rendering pure devotional service. And the spiritual master also helps me in elevating my consciousness to the platform of pure devotional service, rendering pure devotional service. So if somebody comes to that platform of rendering pure devotional service, then in such a consciousness, if he quits his body, he is ready to go to the spiritual world. The spiritual world is a place where only pure devotional service happens, not even mixed devotional service. In India, generally, people are all devotees, at least in India. They have the culture of Krishna consciousness. They worship Krishna, they celebrate Janmashtami, they celebrate Ram Navami. But then, generally, people are not aware of pure devotional service. It's called Mishra Bhakti. They are mixed devotees. They chant the name of Rama and Krishna, they read Bhagavatam, they read Ramayana. They also have so many demands and desires which must be fulfilled. So this is on the platform of mixed devotional service. The spiritual master elevates the consciousness of the disciple from mixed devotional service to pure devotional service. That means pure devotional service is defined by Rupa Goswami. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. No other desire other than to serve Krishna exclusively. So if one wants to come to this platform, then he must definitely take initiation from a spiritual master and take constant guidance from him. And then the whole process of Krishna consciousness is to continuously practice all these rules and regulations so that one comes to the state of pure devotional service. In that state, if we quit your body, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Anta kale cha mameva swaran muktva kalevaram. You quit your body, remembering Krishna, then we don't come back to this world. We go back to Krishna to render pure devotional service eternally. Forever we can be with Krishna, rendering pure devotional service. For this, the spiritual master descends. So therefore, this whole ceremony, the Diksha ceremony, all these things. At the same time, one should not think that if somebody has not taken formal initiation, then whatever devotional activities he is doing, that is all of no value. One should not think like that also. That is also not true. So is that clear?
thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel very angry. How should I stop that?
Oh, very nice. All of us will angry. Why only you? Sometimes.
And sometimes people at home also lose their temper on him. So he
Yeah.
wants calm and peace at home.
Yeah.
So if you could just guide us on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same question is asked by Arjuna also in the Bhagavad Gita. Same question. Of course, Arjuna asked in Sanskrit language. So Arjuna's question is, why does a person commit sin? Annichan apivarshne baladiva niyojitaha. Why does a person commit sin even though unwillingly, as if pushed by a force? Baladiva niyojitaha. So Krishna's answer is exactly what you have asked. Kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha. Krishna says people commit sinful activities, people act rashly, people act without thinking what are the consequences of my action or what sort of effect it is going to have on the opposite person, because in Krishna's words, Kama esha, it is because of lust, Krodha esha, it is because of anger, and all this is born of Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha. It is the mode of passion. So the mode of passion, this, as per if we study the Bhagavad Gita, each one of us, our consciousness is influenced by a particular type of energy. Technically, it is called Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and Tamo Guna. When we are influenced by Sattvic energy, we behave in a certain way. We are polite, we are tolerant, we are truthful, we are honest, we are patient, all these things. And then when we are influenced by Rajo Guna, then we want to act, we want success, we want recognition, we want fame, all the different types of, it's another type of energy. And then when we are influenced by Tamo Guna, and we are lazy, we do something else, we act against the religious scriptures. These are all influence of energy is there. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, all of us are influenced by a mixture of these three. Sometimes we are influenced by sattvic energy, sometimes by rajasic energy, sometimes by tamasic energy. So that is why in human form of life, religious activity or spiritual activity is very, very, very important to keep out this rajasic activity and tamasic energy. The unfortunate situation in today's Kali Yuga, today's education system, school, college education system, that it trains us to earn a livelihood. How to make money in a particular, by becoming expert in a particular field, either accountancy or law or engineering or medicine. That much training our modern schools and education system gives us. But how to become free from the influence of Rajoguna and Tamoguna, Rajasic energy, there is no such institution. Therefore, we see an entire generation of people the society is producing who are expert, who are intelligent, who are talented, who are successful, but they get angry. They're also greedy, they're also lusty, they're also envious, they are jealous. These are all considered lower qualities. Lower qualities means closer to animal consciousness. More sattva-guna, more sattva-guna, more sattva-guna means more human, more divine, more divine, more divine consciousness. So what we know as today Hindu culture or Indian culture or Vedic culture, whatever little is left out, is nothing but a result of our ancestors and our rishis, setting up a whole society by which the people are progressing, not just to earn money for their livelihood, but also spiritually making advancement. So anyway, coming to the solution, this is all we have addressed the problem. Simple solution in Kali Yuga, simply chant and hear Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. See, we request people chant at least 108 times every day. If you are not able to chant 108 times, at least chant 11 times every day. At least. Just count on your fingers and loudly chant like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is one time, 2, 3, 4, 11 times. Then you can increase 20, 30, 40, 108 times. This chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra particularly, it destroys this Rajoguna and Tamoguna. It keeps our consciousness in Sattva Guna. Why? Because Krishna is non-different from his name. Krishna is completely free from Rajoguna, Tamoguna, Sattva Guna. Krishna is in Shuddha Sattva, in a very, very exalted state of existence. So Krishna's spiritual energy also influences our consciousness. We become free from these lower gunas. Lower guna means lower energy, this thing. So you see all the vibration that is coming around us. You get up in the morning, you open the newspaper, you open the news channel, you open the internet. Anywhere you go in Kali Yuga, you are just bombarded with Rajoguna energy and Tamoguna energy. That is the way Kali Yuga is. Formerly, it was not like that. Our society was not like that. Life is centered around temples, means continuously there is an endeavor in the society to give up Rajoguna and Tamoguna and come to Sattva-guna. Today, that situation is not there. That is why people are, have a lot of behavioral mood swings. People have a lot of problems controlling their emotions. All this is solved by simple process of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. This is a solution which all of us in Hare Krishna movement across the world we have been following, and we have found the wonderful results because of the reciprocation of Krishna. When we chant Krishna's name, Krishna reciprocates in our life. He destroys our tendency to get angry. So by the power of Krishna, we become free from this influence of anger. Otherwise, anger is very, very dangerous. In the 16th chapter, Krishna says, Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha. There are 3 gateways to hell, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanaha kama esha krodha esha. He says kama, krodha and lobha. These 3 forces, They are very dangerous and they take one to hellish condition of life. At the same time, only devotees of Krishna who are chanting the names of the Lord, they can overcome the influence of this by the powerful influence of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by the Lord's blessing. So this much will definitely have a positive influence on our consciousness. So that is our humble request to everyone. Please chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 108 times every day. If it is too difficult, you start with 11 times, then you can increase to more and more times of chanting Hare Krishna. So is that clear? Hare Krishna.
Should
Hare
this
Krishna.
Mahamantra be chanted loud, or we can say it by ourselves slowly?
Audibly
Sound
enough.
should be there, definitely.
Sound. We should audibly chant, loudly chant for us to
But
hear.
doing 16 malas per day,
Yes.
telling it loud is very difficult. Can it be told silently?
When we say loud, loud means loud enough for us ourselves to hear. Because the crux of this chanting is to hear this sound vibration. Sound vibration of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, when we give attention, when we hear, that hearing is what cleanses this whole our consciousness. So loud enough for us to hear. We don't have to chant loud enough for everyone to hear, like now we are trying to do. Loud enough for ourselves to hear, so that it is very easy to focus the mind when we audibly chant. If we try to chant too softly, our mind has a tendency to wander here and there, and we may not hear. And if we don't hear, then the effect of that Hare Krishna Mahamantra on us is very, very, very less. Hearing is the key.
Okay, we're telling about this initiation, no?
Yes, yes. ma'am.
Initiation to women, how is that actually? And can we be in the family life and
Definitely,
get the
definitely.
also?
Initiation, as I mentioned few minutes back, Srila Prabhupada has given a very simple methodology for initiation. All we have to do is to chant 16 malas of Hare Krishna mantra every day. That takes about 2 hours in a day, 2 hours to 2 hours 15 minutes. And follow 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit relationships in life. These 4 regulative principles, if one follows, which becomes very easy if one chants the 16 malas of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then that such a candidate is ready for initiation. Then after following this for about 6 months or 1 year, then we have a formal process, we have a ceremony, we have a date fixed. Then we also perform a yajna. On that day, that candidate is initiated. He is also given a new name, a spiritual name is given. And this way, he enters into initiated life, and then he can continue performing his day-to-day worldly activities. Just he has to follow these 4 regulative principles and chant 16 malas. This is the criteria. Now, in order to efficiently do this 16 malas of Hare Krishna mantra and these 4 regulative principles, first and foremost requirement is association with the devotees. Association with persons who are already practicing the 16 malas and 4 regulative principles is of paramount importance. Without association, on one's own endeavor, by keeping oneself away from the association of devotees, it is very, very, very difficult to find that enthusiasm to chant 16 malas every day.
So
and follow.
association means, what do you mean by that? Where do you go and meet them?
Association
Satsang?
means like this.
The satsang only.
Yes, satsang, exactly. Okay. Association means this satsang. Okay. Association means associating with like-minded people.
Yes.
Other persons who are also interested in taking initiation, who are also interested in chanting 16 malas every day, who are also interested in following 4 regulative principles. If we are in touch with them regularly, are visiting those places, rendering services in the temple, all these things will keep that desire to chant 16 malas every day afloat. Otherwise, on one's own endeavor, keeping oneself away from the association, that enthusiasm may dry up after a few days. That's the whole this thing.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, one live question.
Yeah.
How to be fearless and have unflinching faith on Krishna that whatever Krishna does and have done and will do is for my welfare.
Yes. How to be fearless and
Have unflinching faith on Krishna
huh.
that whatever Krishna does and have done and will do is for my welfare.
Actually, if somebody has unflinching faith in Krishna, then the natural result of that is fearlessness. So there is no need to separately endeavor for fearlessness. Unflinching faith in Krishna is the formula for fearlessness. We see all the devotees in the Bhagavatam, great personalities, Parikshit Maharaj, we see the Pandavas, we see Dhruva Maharaj, we see all Vritrasura, all great devotees. We see one characteristic feature in their life is unflinching faith in Krishna. And as a result of that, they were fearless in all situations. Now the question arises, what should one do in order to acquire this unflinching faith? Most important thing in order to acquire unflinching faith is associating with a person who has got this unflinching faith. Because faith is always generated by association. Whomever you associate with, that person's faith actually rubs on to us. If you associate with a person who is very passionate, who's very angry, who's got a certain type of mentality, quality, and then you associate. Association means what? You hear him speak, you admire him, you remember some quotes of him. Actually, all these things are nothing but subtle form of worship. Worship does not only mean doing an arati in the temple or constructing a temple. If you start admiring a person in the core of your heart, admiring his qualities, his personalities, his behavior, his achievements, actually in a subtle form, we are actually worshipping that person. Then his qualities also get transmitted onto our consciousness. This is the way association works. So, if we want to acquire the qualification of unflinching faith, we must worship, admire, and constantly associate with a person who has got this unflinching faith. So that is why we recommend all those who are serious in Krishna consciousness, one must read Srila Prabhupada's books regularly in order to acquire this unflinching faith. Because Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Krishna who possesses this quality of unflinching faith in Krishna. Otherwise, somebody may ask, how do we know Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Krishna? Somebody may have this question in mind. The answer is, a pure devotee is one who, wherever he goes, he makes others into devotees of Krishna. This is a qualification. A Vaishnava is known by the number of Vaishnavas he makes. So this is the power a pure devotee has got. And if you study the life of Srila Prabhupada, we have a Prabhupada biography. If you see the life of Prabhupada, wherever Srila Prabhupada traveled across the world, wherever he went, whomever he met, they all became devotees of Krishna. So such is the powerful influence of a pure Vaishnava. And his consciousness, Srila Prabhupada, his bhakti towards Krishna, he has recorded in these books. All the books that Srila Prabhupada has written is nothing but an outpouring of his devotion, his love for Krishna. So if we constantly read these books and also associate with devotees who are reading such books, gradually the faith, unflinching faith that Srila Prabhupada has for Krishna also rubs on to our consciousness, and we also start increasing our faith in Krishna. And once we come to the platform of unflinching faith in Krishna, then a person is actually fearless. In the words of the Bhagavatam, Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bibhyati swarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Swarga apavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshanaha. A person, Narayana para, one who is fully surrendered to Krishna or Narayana, na kutaschana bibhyati. This is the words of the Bhagavatam. So that is achieved only by unflinching faith. And that comes by associating with a person who possesses unflinching faith. So we recommend everyone who wishes to come to the platform of unflinching faith, please read Srila Prabhupada's books regularly and meditate on those purports, those words of Srila Prabhupada. By such contemplation, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. You contemplate on something, then your mind, your consciousness, your everything goes in that direction. Similarly, by contemplating on the words of a pure devotee, we acquire all auspicious qualities. Any other question?
One more online question, Prabhu, by Rahul. In this current cruel world, can you be honest and does loyalty wins?
Can you be honest and does loyalty will? Well, we are concerned. There is a verse by one of the disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whatever is favorable for Krishna consciousness, we must accept. Whatever is unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, we must reject. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam. So morality, honesty, we are not interested in an absolute sense. We do not attach absolute importance to qualities like morality and honesty. They have an importance in connection with Krishna consciousness. So if something, of course, so that comes to the question, when to be honest, when not to be honest, when to be moral, when to be immoral. So the answer is, a devotee never is dishonest or never tells a lie for his own personal self-interest. That is the criteria. For one's own personal self-interest or furthering one's own personal self-interest, one should never be dishonest. That is the way a devotee always works in this world. So if that thing is kept in mind, then automatically we will understand when to be honest, when not to be honest. Because it is difficult to give a specific answer to this question, because there are different situations in life. Life throws up different situations. So at that time, one always thinks what should be done, what should not be done. So the thumb rule always is, anything favorable for Krishna consciousness, we have to accept. Everything unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, anything by which our Krishna consciousness is going to be hampered, we must always avoid such situation. In other words, if we are very serious in practicing Krishna consciousness, and if there is something which is hampering our Krishna consciousness or our practice of Krishna consciousness, then any action is justified in order to practice Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, it should not be done for furthering one's own self-interest. That should always be kept in mind. So generally in this world, people become dishonest because when they feel a threat or security to their self-interest, some worldly self-interest is affected, at that time people feel a necessity to be dishonest. Whereas a devotee of Krishna, because his goal is Krishna consciousness, advancement in Krishna consciousness, satisfying Krishna is his objective, he is not excessively concerned about his worldly situation. As far as possible, he performs his activity to the best of his ability, and over and above that, if after doing his efforts sincerely, if some reversals appear in life, he takes it as a mercy of the Supreme Lord. That is how a devotee works. So, to give a specific answer to this question, anything favorable for Krishna consciousness, we must do everything possible to ensure that it happens. For one's own self-interest, one should not become dishonest. Is that all? Shall we close? Last question.
How to not to identify my body as a person, and how to see it always a machine but not as a person.
How to identify, not identify with the
body
body.
as a person.
Correct. So this identification with the body is a result of our absorption in this material energy. When our consciousness is in a state of forgetfulness of Krishna, then our consciousness, our soul, is identified with this body, flesh, blood and bones. And then we consider, we work with this faith and conviction that I am this body. Now, in order to come out of this situation, technically called as bodily concept of life, Srila Prabhupada uses this word, bodily concept of life, to feel that one's identity is apart from this body, what is necessary is a spiritual energy. Only by associating with a spiritual energy, our consciousness can get separated from this body. Otherwise, merely on the strength of intellectual conviction, trying to repeat the words that I am not this body will not have much of an effect, because it's a very deep-rooted idea. I am this body is a very deep-rooted idea. So in order to come out of this idea, I am this body, one must actually associate with a spiritual energy. Spiritual energy actually lifts our consciousness and transfers our identification from body to something spiritual. So that spiritual energy in Kali Yuga is the simple process of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By chanting, and particularly by hearing, chanting and hearing this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, instead of identifying with the body, we start identifying with Krishna. And the more and more and more we identify with Krishna, the less and less and less we identify with this body. and more our identification with Krishna deepens, we can actually feel that we are not this body. So the simple solution is to chant and hear. Hearing is what cuts off this identification. Our consciousness is connected to this body through the medium of false ego, ahankara. And this Hare Krishna Mahamantra has the power to cut off that false ego. And when that false ego is completely destroyed, we actually feel we are not this body.
Or last question.
Yeah, last question.
By Rahul. Hare Krishna Prabhu, one more question. I feel sometimes following regulative principles is practically impossible. What to do, Prabhu? Should we accept in this world something or impossible and move on?
No. If it is impossible, then Prabhupada would not have given it. Prabhupada has given 4 regulative principles, means the Acharya knows that it is possible for the people of this Kali Yuga to follow this. That is why he has given. So that, first of all, that faith has to be there in our mind. There is no need to think that, are these kind of regulative principles too much for us to follow. The spiritual master who has given us these 4 regulative principles is very well aware of the deficiencies of all of us. In Kali Yuga, the tendency of everyone is to break these 4 regulative principles. That is the way the conditioned soul in Kali Yuga wants to enjoy this world. Today, if you want to say enjoyment, if you use the word enjoyment, maximize your enjoyment, so it is practically nothing but breaking these 4 regulative principles only. If you take that away, there is no enjoyment for the people. So it is a very deep-rooted conditioning. So anyway, coming back to this point, first of all, the faith has to be there that if the spiritual master has given that these are the 4 regulative principles, it has to be followed. He is well aware that we are capable of following that, provided we chant and hear Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the association of devotees. So even in the initial stages, we have difficulty in following these regulative principles. One should not lose the faith that it is possible to follow. That faith comes when we hear from Srila Prabhupada regularly, and then by the mercy of Krishna, when we are endeavoring by the mercy of Krishna, then all of a sudden we will find that it has become very easy to follow the regulative principles. Prabhupada mentions in one place, this process which I have given you, this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and different rules and regulations, from your side you always endeavor, try your best to follow all these regulative principles. And Prabhupada gives the example, just like a child is walking, he tries to walk and then he falls down, tries to walk, he falls down, tries to walk and then falls down. Suddenly you see after a few months he starts walking very confidently. Similarly, when we try to follow these regulative principles, like a child falls down, there may be situations when we fall down, when we don't have enough spiritual strength to follow all these things. But Srila Prabhupada assures us that with faith and determination, we continue to this, just like a child is walking. And then all of a sudden, Krishna also infuses us with spiritual strength. That should be never forgotten. It is not possible to follow these 4 regulative principles unless and until Krishna empowers us with a certain amount of spiritual strength. That is to be always kept in mind. On our own strength, we cannot follow these 4 regulative principles. It is close to impossible. The energy of Maya, the Rajoguna and Tamoguna is very powerful. Great yogis like Vishwamitra, it is said that he was meditating for 10,000 years and very, very powerful yogi. But even his mind got deviated even after performing tapasya for 10,000 years. So you can imagine if Vishwamitra after 10,000 years, he can give it. Where are all of us? We can't even live for 10,000 years. Our position is, nothing. So in the scriptures, there are umpteen examples of great personalities who have fallen down despite endeavoring for many thousands of years. So our process of following these 4 regulative principles is not like that of Vishwamitra on our endeavor. We are simply trying to receive the mercy of the Lord. The Lord's kripa is so great. Patita Pavana Prabhu Tava Avatara. This is a prayer offered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the Lord in his most munificent form as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has incarnated in order to deliver the most fallen souls. People of Kali Yuga are most fallen. They have practically no capacity to follow the 4 regulative principles. Kali Yuga is full of these 4 sinful activities. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is so great, is so powerful. It is greater than our capacity to commit sinful activities. So having faith in the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that we are practically seeing. You see, in the Western countries today, where these four sinful activities, meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling, these four sinful activities are rampant. There is no question of life without these four sinful activities in the Western countries. But there we see this Hare Krishna movement is, has taken its roots so strongly. And people from Western backgrounds who have no Vedic background at all, today they are chanting 16 malas of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They are confidently following four regulative principles. They are going out across the world and preaching the message of Krishna consciousness. So that is proof of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is open for everyone. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is for the most fallen people. The mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is far greater than any other power in this world. So having faith in that and sincerely following the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada, if we follow the instructions in that mood of receiving the mercy of the Lord, that, oh Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by your power alone I can follow these four regulative principles. If that bhava is there, by the empowerment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, definitely we can follow these four regulative principles. That is our. Are we done? Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki